High Court. And if a judge says you're owed money, it's the sheriff's job to go and get it.
Hey, all the keys.
I'm going to be calling a locksmith.
They can demand payment on the spot.
What can you pay us now?
We're going to get the cash, are you?
Are you paying the bill?
Or remove assets instead.
You've got 30 minutes to make the payment.
We'll start removing stuff from the building.
You'll have a week to pay in full before it gets sold at auction.
Obstructing their work can be a criminal offence.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Don't lie to me.
No mess tins.
Every year, sheriffs in England and Wales recover unpaid debts totalling more than £80 million. Coming up, Tommy and Mike have a £13,000 debt to recover at a residential address.
Hello?
The debtor can't pay, but there's a very special car on the driveway.
That's a nice man. I'm thinking this to be the one that's going to go.
Ron Garrett lost money and a collection of antiques when a shop suddenly closed down.
I trusted Nick. He was very friendly, but eventually he stopped talking to me.
Jess and Billy are on the hunt for his money.
We're going to force entry into the shop in about the next 10-15 minutes if she doesn't attend.
And after a jeweller sold a customer's Rolex and didn't hand over the money, Rob and Gerald pay him a visit.
Time's up.
Where's the keys for all these drawers now? Because I want to empty them.
Excuse me?
I'm taking everything.
Everything?
Everything.
This afternoon, Tommy Coyle and Mike Perkins are in Hampshire.
Today we're off to a residential property. We're looking for a Miss Lisa Berglin and a Dr. Richard Berglin. We're looking for around £14,000.
The couple were taken to court by their ex-landlords following a dispute over rent for their previous home. The Berglins lost, but then applied for a set-aside, which would have meant the case was reheard. The court refused, and the original judgment still stood. The couple then applied for a variation order, which was granted, and repayments were set at £2,500 a month. But then, the Berglins didn't pay as agreed. Now their former landlords have got a High Court writ. Today, Richard and Lisa Berglin owe £13,390. Enforcing personal debts at residential properties can be tricky for the sheriffs, as they can't force entry to search for goods. Fortunately, their file contains some useful information about what assets to expect.
We've been informed that there's a number of nice vehicles. Get a nice big yellow clamp out, put it on the wheel and prompt the payment.
When Tommy and Mike arrive at the property, they find exactly what they were hoping for.
There you go. We've got 3 vehicles there, 2 high-end value vehicles. It looks like there is a vehicle that's got the Porsche badge on.
Yeah, this is paying all day long, this is.
In fact, there are 4 vehicles on the drive.
Nice to see, plenty of assets, all's good.
Tommy and Mike make their way to the front door. They knock, but there's no answer.
There's a few lights on in the house, around that side, CCTV around the corner, but I can't see any movement in there.
With no one to talk to, Mike checks out the vehicles on the drive.
Porsche's unlocked. I'm going to have a diligent search, see if we can come in any documentation to see, obviously, who owns it.
Sheriffs don't have right of entry at residential properties, but they are entitled to open unlocked doors, including car doors.
What was the defendant's name? Richard?
Yeah, Dr. Richard Berglin. Yeah.
The letter indicates the Porsche 4x4 could belong to the man they're looking for. But it's what's under the other cover that really interests Tommy and Mike.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice man. I'm thinking this to be the one that's going to go.
It looks like a Mercedes AMG SL65 Black Series, a car that when new cost over £200,000. But it's a few years old now.
What's the registration?
No, it's not on it, mate.
It's not on here either.
Tommy's just about to call his office to let them know what he's found when Mike spots movement from inside the property.
There's someone in the house. Hello?
The man comes to the French windows to speak to them.
Is it Dr. Berglin? We need to speak to somebody because we're going to be removing some vehicles off the drive. We're enforcement agents.
Dr. Berglin asks us to leave his garden, tells the sheriffs the 4x4 has already been levied against by another company. He says the Mercedes sports car belongs to a company that he used to be part of, so neither car can be removed. Tommy's not put off that easily.
Well, what's the situation with trying to get this paid then? In the moment, I think we would be interested in that. So, you don't want to try and get this paid then, we're just going to have to carry on for now. We'll have a look at this Merc.
With Tommy eyeing up his car, Dr. Berglin comes outside and asks if there's a possibility of setting up a payment plan to clear the debt.
We can still look to try and come to some sort of arrangement. I mean, if we're left with no other avenue, then, you know.
We're going to need a good down payment due to the fact how much this is worth.
But there's no down payment offer on the table. To have any chance of getting their client's money, the sheriffs might need to take one of the vehicles.
The biggest issue is going to be physically moving it. The hydraulic fluid's gone out the front. It can't be moved. It'll have to be basically lifted up, high-ab style, and onto the back.
Moving the Mercedes is making Tommy nervous. It's not made any easier when Dr. Berglin tells them he doesn't have the key for it at the house. It might be time to have another look at the Porsche. In good condition, either car should raise at auction the £13,380 needed.
It'll be a lot easier to move, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Dr. Berglin doesn't have paperwork to prove the Mercedes belongs to a company rather than himself. But he does hand Mike a document which seems to show the Porsche is already under control.
Is that the full agreement, is it? Can I have a look at that as well?
If the car is on someone else's list, Tommy and Mike can't take it. Mike calls the company to make sure.
We just want to find out if you guys have got any interest in this vehicle anymore.
They don't. The case is no longer in their hands, and that means the car could be removed. But it's not that simple.
This has got no engine in it.
There is an engine, it's just...
It's just in pieces. The value is dramatically decreased due to the engine being missing. We'll have to do it Fred Flintstone style with your feet out the bottom, run along.
Although at first it looked like there were thousands of pounds worth of vehicles on the drive, the sheriffs are struggling.
I couldn't think of two worse cars to try and move.
At that moment, Dr. Berglin says he has an appointment elsewhere and leaves.
He's left us here with this because he knows that this is going to be a nightmare to get out.
With an asset worth this much in front of him, Tommy isn't going to give up easily. He gets on to the office.
It's not running, but it looks like one hell of a car. But it's that low to the floor, the suspension shot. It's literally hugging the floor.
The car's sitting so deep in the gravel, Tommy's worried they'll cause thousands of pounds of damage by trying to move it. Dr. Berglin told Tommy the Merc isn't just a run-of-the-mill factory-spec supercar. It's apparently had a McLaren engine conversion. The office is impressed.
Super rare. Super rare.
It's super rare.
It's going.
It's not often the sheriffs think they'll recover nearly £14,000 for their client in one visit to a residential property. And despite the difficulty in removing the car, Tommy's mind is made up.
We're looking at taking this asset, which we believe there's a lot of value in it. At the moment, we're getting some specialist contractors down here, can uplift it, pull it on the back, gone, job done.
Job done, as Mr. Core said.
He calls his favourite removal man, and it looks like he'll get the car removed and the debt repaid.
Bye-bye, bye-bye. Apparently he's removed Ferraris, very low profile in the past. So he's got a vehicle that should be able to do it. So it's looking good. The only issue we've got against us now is time running away and it's getting dark. So I'd rather not be doing it in the dark.
Tommy takes a photo and sends it over for his man to evaluate. But he doesn't get the answer he was hoping for.
It's not liftable. You can't get anything even worse. The low level it is, the fact it's on gravel, the position it's in, and with no key.
They're so close, but no one wants to take responsibility for doing such a difficult job in the dark.
I just don't want to come back tomorrow and this car's gone.
Let's clamp it there.
We're going to clamp.
You've got to be dead careful.
Even clamping such a car is risky, and Tommy watches as Mike gets down to business.
Oh, hang on, the jacket's coming off. It means business. Did you last skivvy die off?
Cheers. You should see how low it is under here, man.
Oh no.
It's proper low.
The wheels alone are probably worth more than some of the car's Mike's removed, so he's taking it very slowly. Just as he's finished, Dr. Berglin is back.
What we're doing, just to explain, the vehicle, we have to clamp it.
Right.
We're going to be leaving it here tonight. They want it removed.
Right.
So we're going to be back.
Dr. Berglin tucks his car in for what might be the last time. And that's as far as the sheriffs can go tonight. If Dr. Berglin wants to save his car, he's got an extra day to come up with the money. Later, Tommy and Mike return in daylight, and this time with a recovery truck. Using the county courts to try and recover money you're owed isn't difficult. 1.5 million money claims are paid every year in England and Wales, involving anything from faulty goods or poor workmanship to unpaid invoices. Claims can be filed online or by post for a small fee. Both parties in the case will be asked to submit evidence, and you may have to attend a court hearing. If you're successful, a county court judgment, or CCJ, will be issued against the debtor. If they still don't pay, that's when you call the sheriffs. Enforcement agents Jess Payton and Billy Evans are in Northamptonshire, heading to an antique shop.
Today we're heading to Larch Antiques. The debt we're looking for is £1,797.44. So that's not a massive debt, so hopefully we can get it resolved.
The writ is against a Mr. and Mrs. Hunter. They used to run a different antique shop nearby, which closed, owing money to Ron Garrett. He and his late wife Karen were enthusiastic collectors. Now 70, Ron met Karen in 1968.
I was in the Air Force, working on the Vulcan bomber. I met Karen on a blind date. I don't like dancing particularly, but I must have had a bit of a jig and a few pints and so on. I fell in love straight away. She was absolutely gorgeous. We were married for 42 years.
In that time, they developed a shared passion for antiques.
Most Sundays, probably Saturdays as well, we used to go to a fair or a flea market. I collected lots of writing instruments, writing boxes. Karen liked anything that was old, especially Victorian sewing pieces.
In 2012, after suffering from cancer for some time, Karen passed away.
I miss her every day. I didn't want to come home without her. It was God's own job just to shut the curtains.
Ron handed down some of their most precious items to their 2 children, but eventually decided that much of the collection should be sold.
It's a hard decision because we'd collected all the parts together. I remember saying loads of times, because obviously Karen knew she was dying as well, and she said, "Don't you sell my stuff." I'm expecting a bolt of lightning coming through the ceiling any time. I do feel guilty, but the kids don't want them all, and I don't want them to end up in house clearance.
Ron found a local antique shop called Hunter's Emporium, run by Nick and Helen Hunter. He rented some cabinet space in their shop, and they began to sell the items on his behalf.
Nick and Helen were so friendly, and I trusted them. She paid me monthly. Some months it was very slow to get my money, and very often there'd be certain things missing from a sales invoice. They'd obviously sold it and not recorded it. I used to point it out, and they'd just pay me the money. There was no argument about it.
Despite the discrepancies in the bookkeeping, Ron kept up the arrangement for 2 years. Then something happened that prevented him from making his regular visits to the shop.
I was trimming trees in my garden, and I came down on my back. I broke my back and 3 ribs, and also damaged a kidney. So I was in hospital for 9 weeks, and I wasn't able to go over there and check my stock, check what had been sold and not, and so on.
When he came home, Ron discovered that Hunter's Emporium had closed down. He got a final sales invoice for £350, and arranged to collect the unsold items from the shop.
I noticed straight away that there were certain parts missing, and Nick said, "Oh, I've had some of that." You know, he said, "I like your stuff," and he said, "I've had some of that." So he said, "I'll make sure you get your money."
The dealer said he'd bought some of Ron's pieces for himself and promised to pay what was owed.
We kept in touch with texts, asked him when I'd get my money, and one of the times he said, "I haven't got any money at the moment, but as soon as I have, you'll be the first one to get it." So I trusted Nick. He was very friendly, called me mate, shook my hand, but eventually something happened and he stopped talking to me.
At that point, Ron lost contact with both Nick and Helen. He was owed £350 in sales and another £400 from the missing items.
I was watching the sheriff programme on the television and I thought, I wonder if they could help me. I ran it past my son and he said, "Oh, I don't think your case is big enough, Dad. They probably wouldn't want to bother with it." I looked it up. It said anything over £600. So I thought, well, mine's over £600, not by much, but it's over £600.
Before he could engage the sheriffs, Ron had to get a county court judgment. The shop was gone, but a friend gave him Helen Hunter's address, and he hand-delivered the court paperwork. He never got a reply, and after 2 weeks, the court granted him a default judgment. When that too was ignored, he upgraded to the High Court and got a writ. Since then, Ron's done more digging and found there's now a new shop, Larch Antiques.
I've quite enjoyed doing the detective work, and I'm really hoping that the sheriffs will be able to get my money back for me.
After going through court, the total debt now stands at £1,797. Ron's writ has both Mr. and Mrs. Hunter's names on it. That means they can agree to pay half each, or the sheriffs can collect the entire bill from whichever one of them they find first. Jess and Billy are trained to estimate a business's assets. But while they know the value of second-hand computers, office furniture and cars at auction, Billy's hoping for some help with appraisal today.
I don't know much about antiques. I brought the antique Jess with me today to get him valued, see what it's worth. Could be worth a trade-in.
Jess might be an old classic himself.
It's apparently along here.
Hang on, slow it down a bit.
But he spots the shop first.
Larch Antiques, here we go.
It's early and the shop's not yet open.
We're going to give it till 9 o'clock, then we're going to make a phone call. It's commercial premises, so we'll give them a certain amount of time to turn up, otherwise we're false entry.
While they wait, they check out what assets are on offer through the window.
Quite nice antiques.
There's some valuable things in there.
Some nice clocks.
The bureau is worth a few quid, isn't it? Nice little record player.
I'd be going for the 2 bombs. There's bombs inside.
The what?
Bombs. 2 bombs, 81mm mortars.
It's now gone 9 a.m, so Jess calls the number they've been given for the debtors.
Hello, is that Mr. Hunter? We're at your shop at the moment. We've got a High Court writ for your shop.
Mr. Hunter says it's nothing to do with him.
Your name's on the writ, sir, so it is something to do with you.
He insists it's not his problem and says it's Mrs. Hunter's shop. He says he's got no involvement in it and it's her they need to speak to.
If you can get in contact for her, please, because we're going to force entry into the shop in about the next 10-15 minutes if she doesn't attend.
It might sound drastic, but as Mr. Hunter said he's not paying the bill, there might not be any choice. Billy's sure of getting Ron's money either way.
If they don't want to pay, if they want to be awkward, we'll force entry. We'll call a truck down and we'll remove all the antiques very carefully.
10 minutes after he spoke to Mr. Hunter, Jess's phone rings.
Mr. Payton speaking. Is that Mrs. Hunter from the Larch Antiques? We've got a High Court writ here for you.
She questions whether the debt has to be paid by her alone.
Both names are on the writ, but we're not going to get into who's paying what. We're outside your shop at the moment. We need you to attend, otherwise if you're not here, we're going to have to force entry. How long will it take you to get here?
Jess has also discovered why Mr. Hunter wasn't interested in paying the debt himself.
The partner's not coming down. She says he's no longer her partner. We've opened up a can of worms there, but, you know, we've got to do what we've got to do.
The sheriffs wait, and 20 minutes later, a woman arrives.
Hello, Adam. You Mrs Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just explain. We're High Court enforcement agents.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want the cameras in here, thank you.
Jess and Billy head into the shop, and we continue filming from the road.
Right, so what it is, we've got a High Court writ against Mrs Hunter and Mr Hunter.
To the sheriff's surprise, Mrs. Hunter says she wants to pay and get it over with, and she's brought the cash to do so.
So it's £1,797.44.
But she's not got that much. She says she thought the debt stood at £1,100, and that's how much she's brought along.
What's happened is, because we've attended today, the fees have now been put on top of it.
So you have received the NOE, which would have been the lesser amount, but because you didn't pay it within the 7 days and we've now come out, it's now gone up.
She says she doesn't have any more cash, and they'll have to take goods. But the sheriffs don't think that's in her best interests.
OK, it does go up.
If we start removing, it's going to go to stage 3 then, which will be
2,427 plus any removals.
She says she has some more money in her bank. She takes them into the back office, where she also hands over the cash she's come in with.
What do you say was here? 1,100, yeah? You check that, yeah. So we'll give you a cash receipt for the cash. There'll be 697.44 is what we'd need.
Billy suggests a bank transfer for the remainder, but Mrs. Hunter doesn't have the card reader necessary to use her internet banking. But she does find another £100 in cash in the office.
That's 1,200 in cash.
Jess comes outside to fill us in.
She's paid the 1,200 cash now. Billy's just sorting the last payment out with her now, and that should be us here done.
But inside the shop, Mrs. Hunter's attempts to pay the remaining £597.44 through the sheriff's web system have been declined. They won't leave with it still outstanding, so she says she'll have to go and get more cash.
Obviously, we're not going to leave now because she hasn't paid the debt in full, so we'll stay in the shop.
Inside, Billy isn't wasting time. Although they're sure of getting paid, he still wants to check out the rest of the assets.
I think he's found his niche. He's walking around looking at all the prices of everything. He's seeing stuff in there he's never seen in his life, I think. He's only a baby, isn't he?
I better put that down.
15 minutes after she left, Jess spots Mrs. Hunter making her way back to the shop.
She's just come back from the bank now, so I'm going to pop back over to the shop and get this paid up. We can get out of it then and leave her in peace. Right, OK, 97.50. Right.
97.50, yeah.
OK.
Right, I'll give you a receipt. All right. All right, take care, Mrs. Hunter.
The writ might have had both her and her ex-partner's name on it, but Mrs. Hunter has paid the debt herself, in full.
She's had to face the music, but, you know, at the end of the day, we've come here to get the money for the claimant. It's not about them, it's about the claimant, getting the money for the claimant. So, you know, we've done our job and we're going to move on now.
Whether Helen Hunter tries to get Nick Hunter to pay his share of the debt is up to her. But Ron Garrett has now finally got the money he's owed.
I think justice has been done. I'm sure Karen will be proud of me. If you're owed money, chase them. Use the system. It's not hard. You can do it, most of it online. And, OK, it costs you a few quid, but if you're successful, you get your money back. So, go for it.
Mrs. Hunter told us the debt belongs solely to her ex-partner and that he had left her in a difficult situation financially. She said Mr. Hunter had no involvement in her current business, Larch Antiques. This afternoon, enforcement agents Rob Foster and Gerald Anderson are on their way to another commercial premises where they're expecting to find valuable items on display.
Going to a jeweller's today, Connaught Jewellers. Looking at a debt just under £3,000.
The sheriff's claimant gave Connaught Jewellers a Rolex to sell on his behalf. They did so, but he was never paid the money from the sale.
The jewellers gave the claimant 3 cheques for payment, but all 3 cheques bounced.
It's not a mistake the sheriffs are going to repeat.
As a general rule, we don't accept cheques. They're too easy to bounce. It ends up creating more problems, costing more money, requiring further attendances, etc. So no, cheques are generally out of the question.
After the bounced checks, the customer took the shop to court. The shop didn't defend the case, and now they owe £2,827.
Connaught Jewellers there on the left-hand
There it is
side.
there. Looks quite decent.
Looks all
It's a
right.
jeweller's.
The lights are on and there is stock in the window. They're expecting an upmarket jewellers to have no trouble coming up with just under £3,000. They park around the corner, but when they get back to the shop, it's locked up.
Door's locked.
No, not yet. I don't think he's gone for lunch. There's a coat on the back of the chair in there.
Yeah.
He could well be in there. You can't tell if the door's locked because he's gone for lunch or if the door's locked because he's in the back.
There's a mobile number on the file, so I'm ringing it now.
The sheriffs have the power to force entry to a commercial property like this one, but they'd rather make contact with the debtor first.
There's no answer, no voicemail or anything on his mobile.
Well, the worst comes to the worst. It's going to be a locksmith.
Yeah.
He ain't going to come here while we're stood here, is he?
They're concerned that if the jeweller is out to lunch, then he might spot them waiting outside the shop and decide not to return. So Rob and Gerald make a tactical retreat.
We're going to withdraw up to a little peepee hole place up there and just observe the door for the next 20-30 minutes, see if he does come back.
They find a good hiding spot.
I can see the shop from here. They obviously can't see me. I'm just going to wait here to see if anybody goes in or out.
While Gerald takes care of surveillance, Rob's been reading the file.
Connaught Jewellers Limited is dissolved.
It looks like there was once a limited company trading here with a similar name, but the sheriffs don't know what the current arrangement is. From what they've seen, they're convinced the shop is still in business, so they step up their efforts to make contact.
Sorry, the number you dialed is not in service. I've tried the two landline numbers. One is no longer in use. One just continues to ring and then rings out.
While they're trying to work out what to do, Gerald's phone rings.
Hello? Can you hear me?
But it's a private number, and whoever's on the other end of it isn't saying anything. Moments later, Rob gets the same call.
Private number. Hello? Hello?
They think it's the jeweller trying to find out who's been calling him for the last half hour. So they head back to the shop.
I don't like coincidences, and you ringing the number and getting a private number back, and then me ringing it and getting a private number back. It's definitely them responding.
100%.
It's still locked up,
That door's closed.
but something's different.
That was open.
It was open,
I could see a chair in there.
Bugger got me all excited now.
He is in there, isn't he?
He knows me, yeah.
After making themselves heard, there's finally a sign of life from inside.
No, I've got movement inside. It's there.
Perfect.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir, you alright?
Rob gets straight to the point.
Right, calling with regards to the live writ today. You sold a Rolex?
Yeah, but we already sent a letter to the court, and all the papers that they sent to 7A, and 7A is the flat above.
Right, okay.
And we haven't heard from them.
Was it just a letter explaining the circumstances?
Explaining the circumstances.
That's not compliant with the court's rules then? You don't just write to the court though, you seek legal advice, you go and see a solicitor and you file the correct forms. That hasn't been done, so we're here with a live writ today to enforce for payment in full or removal of goods.
Rob's not impressed. The man says he's aware of the case, but all he seems to have done is write a letter to the court complaining about it. He hasn't applied for a stay on the writ, or for the judgment to be set aside.
Very simply, are you going to pay it?
I haven't got any money to pay. My
Right.
daughter pays them.
Where's the money for the watch that was sold then?
It belongs to Connaught Jewellers Limited. We haven't received
Right.
any paper from you.
So you're saying everything belongs to Connaught Jewellers Limited?
Yes.
Which is a dissolved company. It's gone. Doesn't
It's
exist.
gone, but we are still running the company.
Let me just tell you one thing.
Instead of Limited,
Yep.
it's Connaught Jewellers.
Yes.
And that is the name on the writ.
That's exactly what I needed to hear.
But now the man says the shop doesn't belong to him. He's the manager, but the lease is in his daughter's name, and it's her business. None of that makes any difference to the sheriffs.
Can I ring my daughter and she explains to you?
I don't want anything explained to me.
It belongs to her.
I don't want anything explained to me. I want it paid, or I'll take goods. That's it. That's all I'm after is the payment.
How can we pay you?
I take cards, I take cash, many different ways.
Can we give you a check?
We
No,
don't take checks.
we don't take
you
checks.
You bounced 3 of them on the last guy.
Gerald, meanwhile, is exploring the back office.
Sorry, why are you? This is only a workshop.
I'm just looking through paperwork to see exactly what's what. I have the right under the writ to investigate.
Ideally, he wants a document proving some of the jewellery belongs to Connaught Jewellers, but there's not much of interest. He tries a different tack.
Let's go back a couple of months. I give you this and say, can you sell that for me? You sell that to this gentleman here for
Yes.
£2,000.
Correct.
Where's that £2,000 still that he gave you?
It's my regular customer. And,
Oh, right,
and every
right,
time
right.
he buys something...
He'll pay
he
you
pays-
next year, maybe?
No, not next year. No.
Who's got the £2,000?
I have got the
Right.
£2,000.
Whose £2,000 is it?
But I didn't get...
Whose
It's
2,000
yours.
Right, so why don't you pay me?
But it was only 6 weeks when he started moaning.
Whatever the arrangement was, the Rolex's owner has had neither his watch nor his money for months now. Later, can Rob and Gerald convince the jeweller to pay his customer back?
I wasn't kidding you when I said that. I'd be looking at taking £20,000 worth of kit, which is basically clearing the shop out.
If you've won a county court judgment and haven't been paid, for £66 you can get the case transferred up to the High Court, which will issue a writ for enforcement by the sheriffs.
I'm enforcement agent enforcing a High Court writ.
I'm here just to execute the court order.
They've got more powers than county court bailiffs.
We're going to remove cars. If you obstruct myself or my colleague, it is a criminal offence.
And there's no limit to the size of the debts they can pursue.
£14 million. It's the largest job I've ever done.
He can pay it directly into our account from Spain.
If they're successful, they will recover your money and costs from the debtor,
Thanks.
Thank you.
as well as their own fees that are set by the government.
It was that amount there until 5:30. I don't stand here for 3 hours for nothing.
If the sheriffs can't get your money, they'll ask you to pay a fee of £75 plus VAT. Earlier, Tommy and Mike visited Dr. Berglin, looking for more than £13,000 that he and his wife owe to their former landlord.
This is paying all day long, this is.
He said he couldn't pay, but the sheriffs found a potentially valuable asset on his driveway.
That's a nice motor. I'm thinking this will be the one that's going to go.
They decided it was too difficult to remove it in the dark that evening. And now, 2 days later, they're returning to collect the clamped car.
The defendant's been back in contact. He's very cooperative. He says he's now got a key. I think he's resided to the fact he's not going to be able to pay it and the vehicle's going to go.
They arrive at the Berglins' property, and as Tommy heads inside, Mike checks in with their recovery man.
How long will he be, roughly?
Dr. Berglin has found the keys, which should increase the vehicle's value at auction. He's also going to start it, so the sheriff's removal man doesn't cause any damage trying to lift it off the gravel.
Oh, woohoo! That sounds gorgeous, doesn't it?
Does sound racy, doesn't it?
Tommy and Mike inspect the vehicle, but they can hardly hear themselves over the noise of the engine. Mike seizes the cover, and as the car is now unlocked, he checks the glove box for documents, which also gives him a chance to try out the seats.
Oh, it is quite spacious inside, isn't it?
When Dr. Berglin says he'll drive it onto the road for them, Tommy can't resist doing the same.
Believe it or not, I've had it before, and then people have drove off.
No, he won't drive off. I can understand why oh my lord. I can understand why Tommy's doing it. She's obviously got to make sure the asset's still secure. But I think it was more that he just wanted to sit in it and say he's been in it.
His 100-foot joyride complete, Tommy discovers why the car's been sat on the driveway for so long.
It's not built for me, I don't think. Is that fluid coming out?
Yeah.
He'd let customers go out on it on track days. Obviously the vehicle sits very low profile on the track, and there's a swing in the vehicle that rises it. But when you come off the track, the customer didn't rise it, hit a speed bump, which caused the damage. We could see the fluids coming out the front.
The sheriffs are hoping it's just a leaky hose and the damage isn't severe enough to put off potential bidders at auction. Problem or not, Tommy's still impressed.
It's a lovely car. It's like a muscle car, isn't it? See, if I was a car, that would be me. You'd be a Nissan Micra.
Right on time, the recovery truck arrives.
You're not starting.
Dr. Berglin jump-started the car 10 minutes ago. But the recovery man can't.
Might have to get his heavy-duty one out.
So the debtor and his extra-large battery are needed again.
Hopefully this is going to work now. It'll be a lot simpler to get it on board. There you go, straight away. Amazing, straight away.
And that's not all. He's also got a bottle of fluid that he hands over to Tommy.
Then he topped it up with some of that.
Yeah, you find my side, mate?
Yeah.
The Mercedes is driven onto the low loader, secured, and that's the job done.
That's a beautiful car, isn't it?
Tommy hands over the seizure paperwork and the car heads off. It will be taken to secure storage. And after a minimum of 14 days in which Dr. Berglin will have a chance to register any objections, it will be sold at public auction.
That asset's worth a substantial amount of money. Obviously, he'll be getting some money back, also clearing his debt. The claimant will also be getting their money back. A good result all round. And as you can see, we will come out, we will enforce, we will get these goods removed, and we will recover our client's debt.
A few weeks later, the car was sold at auction, but it only made £11,300, which wasn't enough to clear the entire debt. That means, as far as the sheriffs are concerned, the case is not yet closed. Rob and Gerald are still in a jeweller's in West London, trying to get more than £2,000 for a customer who wasn't paid when the shop sold a Rolex on his behalf.
Who's got the £2,000?
I have got the £2,000.
Whose £2,000 is it?
But I didn't get it.
Whose
It's yours.
So far, it's been a frustrating experience for the sheriffs. The jeweller has admitted he owes the money, but doesn't seem keen to pay up. If they can't leave with the claimant's cash, the sheriffs might have to sell the shop's goods instead.
Time's up.
Where's the keys for all these drawers now? Because I want to empty them. I'm taking everything.
Everything?
Everything?
The jeweller says that, like the Rolex, almost everything here is sale or return and belongs to his customers, not the shop. So he offers them something he does own.
I've got one thing, that carriage clock. That alone is £2,000.
But it's not that simple. The clock won't fetch that much at auction, and Gerald explains that if he has to remove it, the bill will go up.
How much are we looking at as sale, Rob?
It will go to 4,100.
If you pay it now, it's 2,800. That's it. But at auction, I'd be looking at around £16,000 to £20,000 worth of goods to cover a debt.
The carriage clock alone isn't worth anything like enough money to clear the debt, so the sheriff's attention turns elsewhere.
What else in here? These are owned by Connaught Jewellers?
Those, yes.
Yeah, and how much do you reckon these are worth?
Well, I sell them for £200 each.
There are some high-value items in the cabinets, and the jeweller doesn't want to lose them. He now says he can get his daughter to pay the debt.
If you give us 24 hours, we will pay you. It's not the end of the world, for God's sake. I'm not asking you to wait for days and days.
But it has been 3 weeks since the notice of enforcement was sent out, and months since the Rolex was sold. If the man's daughter is going to pay, Gerald doesn't want it put off any longer.
I can send you a link to your daughter for her to just put down. It's done.
Let me tell you one thing. She cannot leave the office.
She doesn't have to leave the office. Sir, all I'd have to do for your daughter, she can stay sat in her desk behind wherever she is. I send her a text on her phone, and on the text on the phone it will say, put your card detail in here. She can do it on the phone text, done, finished.
But even that isn't going to work. The man says his daughter is too busy and can't pay the sheriffs now.
I cannot believe that you cannot get hold of your daughter.
She is the supervisor. She doesn't even talk to me.
Can you assure me in 24 hours that debt will be paid?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I don't believe a word.
Please, I don't have to lie to you. I'm 73 years old.
It's been 2 hours since they first knocked on the door, and Gerald has finally extracted a promise of payment from the jeweller. Rob thinks that's as good as they'll get today, and decides to give the jeweller the time he says he needs.
So we can do a control goods agreement. You sign it, I sign it, and we give you 24 hours to settle it in full.
Gerald lets the man know it doesn't mean he's off the hook.
If it's not paid by that time, we then end up coming back. Whether you're here or not, we'd get a locksmith and open the place up. And I wasn't kidding you when I said that I'd be looking at taking £20,000 worth of kit, which is basically clear the shop out.
Rob and Gerald go through the assets and list everything the man agrees belongs to the shop.
All these watches, Connaught Jewellers, yeah?
The watches, yes. Swiss.
Swiss. So that's the manufacturer's Swiss.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wrist bracelets.
The sheriffs are never happy to leave a job without getting paid, but they've done all they can today. Rob gives the man the control of goods agreement to sign.
Right there. Perfect. Yep.
And with that, the shop's stock technically belongs to the court until the debt is paid.
When you've paid, give Mr. Foster a phone call. Otherwise, I'll be back here Monday to empty the place out. Ta-da now. Ta-da.
It's not been the easiest day's work, and they haven't yet recovered any money for their client.
I'm not convinced he's going to pay it as he said he'll pay it. I have told him that I will eat my hat if it's paid by 9 o'clock Monday.
A total of £2,473 was paid the same day by Connaught Jewellers and cleared in the sheriff's account later that evening. The remaining balance was paid 3 days later. So in the end, the owners stuck to their word, and so did Gerald. Connaught Jewellers told us the payment was transferred before the sheriff's visit. They also said the original court claim was mistakenly sent to the wrong address.
Arrestable offence to stop me in doing my job.
If you've been ripped off and don't know where to turn,
I'm not waiting anymore.
I'm ordered to seize goods to clear this debt, which would mean clearing this place out.
if you've been to court but still not been paid what you're owed,
why don't you just tell me who you are? This is an absolute prop. You need to pay this.
it's time to call the sheriffs.
I've seized your car, sir.
You can have a letter through the door or we'll go through the window.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're enforcement officers of the High Court, and the law says they're on your side.
I've collected 42 grand.
Coming up, fitness instructor Kamar Ahmed plunged into debt when the company he worked for didn't pay him for months.
I was behind on mortgage payments. It just became impossible to hold on to my property, and it was repossessed.
Can Sheriff Lawrence Grix weigh in and get him what he's owed?
I'm ordered to seize goods to clear the debt. I'm starting to lose patience, to be honest.
When Lawrence and Kev visit a man with many identities,
You could call yourself Basil Brush. We can enforce against an alias.
which one doesn't want them in his house?
No, put your hands on me. Yeah, what? What?
And tempers fray when the sheriffs visit a tissue factory.
Now I found you out.
Will the sheriffs be soft or strong as they battle to recover an unpaid debt?
I don't want to stop your business from trading, but that's where we're at.
It's 6:30 a.m. and enforcement officers Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally are on the road. They're in Hayling Island, near Portsmouth, on their way to meet a man of many names.
We've got a defendant by the name of Mr. Joseph White.
The sheriffs have visited the address before, but the man living there claimed not to be Joseph White, but Joseph McVeigh. What's more, vehicles there belong to a Joseph Mayday. Lawrence, however, believes all these Josephs are one and the same person, and intends to prove it so he can enforce the writ.
It's given us the runaround a bit, but hopefully today we've got sufficient paperwork with us, some sufficient evidence to shut the man up, basically. The total due is £28,605.32.
Lawrence and Kev are visiting on behalf of 2 former tenants who have been awarded substantial sums by the court after falling into dispute with landlord Joseph White over their tenancy deposit. Arriving at the substantial premises, it's looking hopeful there'll be seizable assets on site. No one's up. It gives Lawrence plenty of time to list vehicles to potentially seize.
There we go. There's a noise there. It's definitely someone here.
Finally, they managed to raise someone from inside the house.
Hello there, sir. Looking for Joseph White, a.k.a. Joseph McVeigh, formerly known as Joseph Mayday. Would that be yourself, sir? Who? Joseph White, a.k.a. Joseph McVeigh, formerly known as Joseph Mayday. No. Couldn't recognise him from the photo.
At this point, our cameraman is asked to leave. The man says he is Joseph McVeigh.
You were formerly Joseph Mayday, is that correct? Did you change your name by deed poll, did you?
Mr. McVeigh confirms he was known as Joseph Mayday, but denies he has ever been known as Joseph White. This is a problem for Lawrence, as Joseph White is the name on his writ. Lawrence is convinced Mr. McVeigh is Mr. White, but he has to prove it.
Yeah, it's you, sir. And we're here today to seize goods to the value of £28,605.32.
The man says he knows nothing about the case and continues to insist he's not Mr. White.
Right, who owns the Nissan Navara?
Lawrence threatens to remove the car. Mr. McVeigh says he can't because it belongs to his son.
If your son doesn't live here, why does he leave all his vehicles here? And where's your vehicle? These are your vehicles, aren't they? They're registered in your son's name. Right, well, we require proof otherwise, sir. He needs to come down with proof of ownership, sir, or we're going to remove him. OK?
Mr. McVeigh goes inside to contact his son. Meanwhile, Lawrence and Kev have found something interesting in the paperwork.
Who does a J like that?
That's him.
Comparing 2 signatures, Lawrence believes the distinctive J's are a dead giveaway, that they're signed by one person. He believes he's got his man.
If you look at that J, that is you, sir. There is the J of J White. You have signed that. Yes, you have, sir. Signed on that piece of paperwork. Highly identifiable. You are also known as Joseph White. That's quite an unmistakable J.
Even faced with Lawrence's evidence, Mr. McVeigh insists he is not Mr. White. But Lawrence is convinced.
You're known as J. White, Joseph White. Yes, you are, sir. We can enforce against an alias. If you're the person that you could call yourself Basil Brush, if you're the person known as Basil Brush, then we can enforce against you or Basil Brush.
With negotiations going nowhere, Kev decides to step things up. Determined to get the former tenants the money they're owed, he heads to the van to get the clamp for the Navara. Meanwhile, and much to his surprise...
Oh, he's gone in.
Lawrence is invited into the house. Perhaps Mr. McVeigh doesn't realise that once inside, Lawrence can get listing assets, and not even the police can remove him.
I'm surprised he's been invited in, to be fair.
And you've now let me into your house, so I will be clearing it out. That is how it goes.
This is not what the man expected when he invited Lawrence into the house. He begins to take exception to Lawrence's presence.
We're not bouncers with a clipboard. We're authorised to come here by the High Court. I'm not leaving the premises, sir. I'm within my rights to be here, and I will be removing goods today unless you clear this debt.
Suddenly, tempers fray.
No, don't try and push me out the house.
With the temperature rising inside, Kev goes to Lawrence's aid.
Come in, mate.
Don't put your hands on me. Don't you lock him in here. Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me.
I've claimed peaceful entry, which entitles my colleague and anybody else I invite.
With things turning nasty, the police are called. While they wait for them to arrive, Lawrence ramps up the pressure.
I'll need a truck to take away. It's a Nissan Navara. It's already on the file, 57 plate. Nissan Navara.
And Lawrence's tactics have an immediate effect. Despite continuing to insist he's not the debtor, Mr. White, Mr. McVeigh agrees to pay off some of the debt, £5,000. But Lawrence is holding out for more.
I might be able to take half. The debt, as it stands at the moment, it's not what's on there, obviously, because we've had lots of visits.
With Lawrence standing firm, Mr. McVeigh ups his payment to £7,000 of the £28,000 owed. With matters reaching a conclusion for today, the police car is cancelled.
My colleague's in the process of taking the clamp off your van. It's your copy of the receipt.
And with a part payment, it's over for today. Lawrence's canny detective work and tenacious arguing has once again come up trumps.
As far as I'm concerned, that was a result, because there's not a lot of evidence that Joseph McVeigh is or was Joseph White. I'm pretty sure he is, and the fact that he volunteered to pay some money sort of implies that. That will keep the wolf from the door for the time being, and he can take whatever legal action he needs to take, and obviously we'll go by whatever the court says.
After we filmed, Joseph White, aka Joseph McVeigh, applied to have the judgment against him set aside. He and his former tenants attended court, where they agreed to the set aside on acceptance of the £7,000 in full and final settlement. It's early morning, and enforcement officers Lawrence and Kev are in the van again and coming into Watford. They're here to settle a debt with a local gym, Fitness for Less, whose relationship with a personal trainer hasn't worked out.
With the gym, you know, I would think you'd find sufficient assets there to clear the debt, so we'll be looking for full payment.
The man they're on their way to help is Kamar Ahmed from Watford. His personal fitness is everything to him, and working out is his passion. But it's not just a hobby, it's also his livelihood as a professional personal trainer.
Extend your arm for that jab.
After deciding to make personal training his career 7 years ago, Kamar took a job with a local gym, Sports Academy.
It's the best job I've had. It was fantastic.
But Sports Academy ran into financial problems, with wages paid only sporadically. The company was taken over by a new firm, Fitness for Less. They inherited the Sports Academy wage bill, and Kamar and the other staff hoped they'd finally get paid what they were owed.
Good. I'm going to hit 2 breaths, okay? Let's go.
But at a meeting with staff, the new owner has some hugely disappointing news.
Categorically said that they're not going to pay our wages in front of the previous owner, who had 5 minutes before just said that the new owners will pay us our backdated wages.
Kamar was owed just over £4,000 in unpaid wages, so together with the other disgruntled staff, he agreed to help bring legal action to fight their case.
They had already made it pretty obvious they had no intention of paying us that money, so that was the only sensible thing to do. We had to take it through the courts, so we had to stick together and we had to take this to the tribunal.
When the judge heard the case, he ruled that when the business was sold, the new owner should take on the responsibility for the previous company's unpaid debts, including backdated wages. It was vindication for Kamar.
Justice. Justice has been done. Absolutely. It was a great feeling.
But getting the money he was owed wasn't quite as simple as that. Fitness for Less began to settle with Sports Academy's former employees, but a signed agreement for Kamar wasn't forthcoming.
A lot of my colleagues at this point started to get paid off, I was still being positive. I was thinking, OK, maybe they're going through reverse alphabetical order and I'm going to get paid right at the end. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and that money just did not come through.
The stress of the legal fight and failure to pay him the money he was owed took its toll on Kamar. He was diagnosed with acute depression and signed off work.
That was the beginning of my dark path I had to go down. I found myself alone. I found myself often spending days with the curtains shut. And I just didn't want to be seen by anyone, really.
Without his unpaid wages, Kamar's financial situation went from bad to worse. Eventually, it cost him his home.
That's where I used to live. As soon as I stopped getting paid from Fitness for Less, I was behind on mortgage payments. It just became impossible to hold on to my property, and it was repossessed. I've been put up by good friends, and they've helped me through a lot.
Finally, a few months after the tribunal hearings, Kamar received a part payment from Fitness for Less. He was promised the rest would follow, but it didn't. So he went back to the employment tribunal.
I'm very stubborn. There was no way I was going to give up on that. No way. No way.
Fitness for Less didn't attend the latest tribunal hearing, and a judgment was issued in Kamar's favour. But despite this, Kamar still hasn't been paid. So now it's up to Lawrence and Kev to get Kamar the money and the closure he so desperately wants. Back in Watford, Lawrence and Kev have finally found a place to park up.
So we can't stop here, though.
With a deep-seated fear of traffic wardens, Lawrence leaves Kev with the van. This is going to be one writ he'll have to enforce alone.
He stayed with the van because it's got clamping signs and tow-away signs and things. Hello there. My name's Mr. Grix. I'm an enforcement officer. I'm here to execute a High Court writ against Fitness for Less Watford Limited. Basically, I'm ordered here by the court today to seize goods to the value of £5,399.58 with a view to selling them at public auction to clear this debt.
Was this the a reason to replace with an ex-mineral staff?
Yeah. Kamar Ahmed.
Would you take it?
OK.
While the manager gets on the phone to his superiors, Lawrence gets to work making notes on equipment. If need be, he could seize and remove machinery to pay off the debt.
Are things going to be taken today?
Right. I'm ordered here, as I say, to seize goods to clear the debt. It can be prevented by full payment. So, your manager, your director, whoever.
The manager runs off to call his boss again, while Lawrence tries to work out which exercise machine is which.
Handily, it's all labelled up with what it is.
The manager is back, and this time he's got a message for Lawrence. His boss says the sheriffs can't take a thing.
You issued a letter and a deadline.
No.
That's what you just told me.
No.
Unfortunately, it's a line Lawrence has heard many times before.
I'll draw your attention to that bit. You are now commanded to seize and execution the goods, chattels and other property of the defendant. It doesn't order us to give notice, it orders us to seize the goods to be sold at auction.
The manager gets back on the phone, but he's soon back to update Lawrence.
My colleague is in at 10 AM today, so we're going to have to do some form of online bank transfer. So is that okay?
Oh, yeah. If he normally starts at 10 and he's sorting out his private life, then that's, that's entirely down to him. Yeah, I think we're going to get paid in full.
It's looking promising, but Lawrence knows better than to count his pennies until they're firmly in his hand. Having agreed to wait, it seems he might not even need to. The gym manager is back with good news.
Oh, right, and he's doing the transfer, is he?
All Lawrence needs to do is wait to see that the funds have come through, and it's job done.
Can you just keep your eye on the bank account for me?
Half an hour later, Lawrence is still waiting for payment. We, meanwhile, are asked to stop filming.
I'm starting to lose patience, to be honest.
Nearly an hour after he was explicitly told that the money had been transferred, Lawrence gets a call from the account manager, who's only now making the payment and wants the account details again.
I'm now charging the waiting time, okay? So there's another 217 and 80 pence to add to that bill. That's what mucking about is, being told that a payment's being made 2 hours before it is.
With Lawrence beginning to flex his muscles, Fitness for Less are beginning to feel the burn. They decide to cut their losses and pay up. This time, the money does go through. Payment at last. But despite his success, Lawrence is still feeling the frustration of his visit.
You know, I could have been gone from there probably 2 hours before I was. So in the end, I did charge him an hour's waiting time.
Let's get out of here.
And most importantly, they can report back that Kamar will finally receive the money that's due to him.
I'm very happy, and I'd like to say thank you to them. I think I made the right choice for sure. With that money, I'm going to set up my own personal training business, and I'm going to make a difference in my life, and I'm going to make a difference in the lives of my clients as well.
Fitness for Less told us that when they took over the Sports Academy gym, they did not know about unpaid staff wages, and that legal advice they were given at the time indicated they should not be responsible. They believe they made all reasonable effort to get Kamar his money, including writing him a cheque for him to collect from them. They said, however, that despite numerous efforts to get in touch with Kamar, they were unable to reach him, and that he left them no forwarding contact details. Kamar's unpaid wage bill is just one of 70,000 High Court writs enforced by sheriffs in England and Wales every year.
We're enforcement officers.
Got an High Court writ to attend here today.
We're higher than a bailiff.
Sheriffs have more power than county court bailiffs, and obstructing them in their work is a criminal offence.
You've now trapped us in here. We're going to need to call the police.
A High Court writ costs £60. If the sheriffs are successful, that's it. If they're unsuccessful, the only cost is a £60 admin fee.
We removed one vehicle, we seized all the other vehicles.
So 6,900 there.
Paid it straight away, so it's all good.
Enforcement officers Craig Wild and Tom Coyle are on their way to help a business customer recover a substantial unpaid debt.
We're off to Wolverhampton today. The defendant in this case we're going to see is Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited. It's £10,750 and 19 pence.
Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited had some machinery installed but still haven't paid the supplier. This is Tom's second visit. He was here a couple of weeks ago when Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited promised they would pay the debt.
He ended up doing a part payment of £2,500 on the day.
But this is one of the sheriff's more complex cases. There are two companies trading here. Tom found it confusing last time, and it's about to get even more so. Tom runs for the open door to gain access to the building.
Hello.
Now he's in, he can't be thrown out.
Mr. Patel about?
Tom met company boss Mr. Patel when he was here before.
You want to talk in there? Yeah, no problem. What's the situation?
Let me just speak to the accountant. Just one second.
Yeah, no problem.
While Tom waits for word from the accountant, Craig is looking for seizable property. The big warehouses are locked, and in the open one there's not much of value.
There's a fair bit of tissue paper here that is worth some money. Clearly not £10,000. I'll go and help Tom there.
With word back from the accountant, there's a problem. Mr. Patel now says the company trading here is AP Paper and Tissue, which is what the signs on the building say. He claims that the company on Tom's writ, Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited, is in administration.
Well, this gentleman came in some time ago, 2 weeks ago. I did say that Alliance is not trading for months. Right. He insisted on taking over possession of somebody else's property, basically.
If Alliance Paper and Tissue is in administration, or all of the assets are owned by another company, it's bad news for Craig and Tom. Craig checks with Companies House, the official register of companies. There is a company called Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited, and it is trading.
The company that's gone into administration is nothing to do with our company. Our company is still operating and trading. You've liquidated the old company.
It now appears that the original company named on the writ had its name changed and was then put into administration. Another company with the same director, Ghanshyam Patel, was later renamed Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited. So when Craig searched on the company name, it appeared to be trading. Mr. Patel gets his accountant on the line again to try to explain.
I've got the sheriff here. We'll speak to him.
It's a High Court writ of FIFA for Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited.
The accountant again says Alliance Paper and Tissue is in administration. Craig's research shows it's alive and well. As a company called Alliance Paper and Tissue is still in business, the sheriffs will continue to list goods for seizure, and if necessary, Mr. Patel can contest the seizure in court.
You're just a sheriff, right?
No,
You've got no clue about what is saying.
Well, we're going to carry on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As Craig digs up more evidence, tempers fray in the tissue factory.
Leave that stuff out.
If you start stopping me doing my job, that is a criminal offence, and I will have you arrested for that.
What?
Get violent, is there?
We'll come back to Wolverhampton later to see if the sheriffs can get the debt paid. This morning, Sheriffs Mark Newton and Tony Smith are heading down the M4 into Wales.
We're going to the National Engine Centre in Cardiff. Total outstanding is £4,164.83.
The sheriffs are on their way to help David Conway and his wife Dorothy from Billingham in Teesside. He's been retired for the past 20 years and now loves to spend his spare time flying.
This is me hangar. These are me pride and joys. Noddy's me best, yeah. The planes are part of my life. They're very important to me. If I didn't have the planes, I would be just sat watching television all day. You know, I've crashed dozens and dozens. This is my latest. I'm known as Crasher Conway because I've had so many crashes.
As his enthusiasm for his hobby has grown, so has the size of his planes. If David wanted to keep his hobby on the straight and level, he needed to buy a car to transport the planes in. He decided the perfect vehicle was a Renault Grand Espace. At the National Engine Centre in Cardiff, David thought he had found the car he so desperately needed.
I've seen the car online. The car was in good condition. One previous owner. I really wanted this car. I didn't want any other car. So I got on the train and went and got it.
It was an exhausting 600-mile round trip from Billingham to Cardiff, but David really wanted the car. When he arrived at National Engine Centre, David wanted to try the Espace. He was allowed to take it for a brief test drive.
I thought it was a nice car, so I went ahead and bought it.
The Renault Espace cost David £2,500, all the savings he and his wife had. But it was only 4 miles down the road when disaster struck.
The car started losing power and eventually it stopped.
Stranded with a barely working car somewhere in Cardiff, David didn't know where to turn. Fortunately, he was able to get the car back to the garage and he asked for a refund. But the garage said if he wanted one, he'd have to leave the car in Cardiff and wait till Monday when appropriate staff could process it.
I couldn't leave the car there and leave me money there, so I had to bring the car back.
With no refund, David realised he would have to nurse the car 300 miles back home.
It took me over 7 hours to drive back home in it. It really was horrendous.
Desperate to find out what was wrong, David took the car to a local garage. They diagnosed the problem as a dodgy engine control unit and a faulty valve in the exhaust system.
They couldn't give me an exact price, but they said it could go into thousands.
David immediately contacted the National Engine Centre, hoping for a quick resolution, but none could be agreed. It left him with the undrivable Espace grounded outside his home, constantly reminding him of the ordeal.
It's put so much pressure and stress on my wife and I.
David was left with no option but to take National Engine Centre to court. They failed to show up, and a judgment was issued in David's favour. The garage applied to have the case set aside, but once again were absent, and David won the case. Despite victory, David still hasn't received a penny.
I feel so annoyed that he's got away with it.
With nobody left to help, it's now down to the sheriffs to answer David's distress signal. Tony and Mark have found National Engine Centre.
It's quite big, isn't it?
They head in to try and get David the money he's owed.
Hi mate. Morning. It's about a High Court writ that's been issued by David Knox Conway. Claimant sent us out to collect the money.
Yeah, no worries. We'll wait.
While the man heads off to get his boss, Mark is already getting a bad feeling about the job.
I said, is that the National Engine Centre? He said, yeah, and then he said he don't work.
You after me? National Engine Centre.
National Engine Centre.
Can I have a look? It's not us, mate. See you later.
Who's that? Who is it then?
That's not us.
Well, there's National Engine Centre up there.
Yep. What did it say on the end?
There's Limited.
Yeah.
The man claims that the name on the writ, National Engine Centre, isn't here. The company trading at these premises is Nat Engine Centre Limited.
Then cheery bye.
After a less than warm welcome, our camera is asked to leave. The conversation carries on in the office, where the man, Mr. Peter Anderson, denies being the company director of National Engine Centre, or Nat Engine Centre Limited, but he refuses to find any proof.
The more info you can show us, the better it is.
Got your company's house certificate.
Why would you not do that if it's nothing to do with you? You're moaning we're here, and then you're not willing to help out.
It doesn't take long for Mark to find evidence contradicting the man's story.
You just had a delivery for the National Engine Centre. That box there, the one that says National Engine Centre on top. If you don't start showing us proof, we're going to start seizing goods.
Then things start to rev up at the engine centre.
Over! Get everyone out the garage. I want these guys to leave. They won't go. Yeah, there's going to be a breach of the peace now.
But it seems his staff aren't quite as keen to go toe-to-toe with the sheriffs as he thought, so he calls the police instead.
He's actually being quite awkward at the moment. He's, unfortunately, he's not cooperating at all. He's called the police and said there's been a breach of the peace, which there hasn't really, but we're just waiting for them to arrive now.
20 minutes later, the police arrive. With Mr. Anderson talking to the police, Mark and Tony take stock.
You know, the police are telling him he needs to pay, otherwise we're going to, go on and start removing the goods. So that's where we are. We're just waiting to see what happens, whether we can budge him into getting to pay some money.
It looks like the only way the sheriffs will get David his money is by seizing goods. Mark's been looking at what's available and phones the office to tell them about the substantial stock of engines.
There's loads of engines. I mean loads. When I say loads, I mean loads.
There's loads of them out there. There's hundreds of them.
How did National Engine Centre Limited gain all them engines? They didn't just turn up one day with all them engines, did they, and put them in there? They came from somewhere.
With the argument stalling, Mark offers the man an ultimatum. Provide receipts for each and every engine, pay the debt, or say goodbye to the whole lot.
Every single thing that's in that workshop I need a receipt for, in the name of Nat Engine Centre Limited. Right, the situation is, my colleague's now on the phone.
Tony's ordering up a truck. It's going to be a big one.
7.5 tonne would probably be enough. But then you're going to need a forklift. He ain't going to let you use his forklift. I'm telling you that now. He's the most difficult person I've ever met.
If you pay now, it will be that price. But I'm telling you, it will go up, and it will go up by thousands.
But with the tow truck on its way and his engines about to leave the premises, Mr. Anderson has a sudden change of heart.
Mark.
What? Money?
Yeah.
Though Mr. Anderson isn't admitting who owns the engines, he is offering to pay, but he's not offering enough.
All right, what about half of it then?
Meet us halfway.
£2 grand. Come on.
You Welsh boys have all got loads of money.
Finally, the sheriffs win the battle of wills and head back to the office for payment.
Take that.
That's just to say he's paid us £1,250 in cash, yeah. Cheers, thank you, bye-bye.
Let's go. Get out of Wales.
Mr. Anderson has paid £1,250 today and promises to put a payment plan in place to cover the rest.
Not as great as we wanted, but we've got £1,250 in cash off him here, so it's a start.
But despite Tony and Mark's efforts, Mr. Anderson failed to submit a payment proposal for the outstanding amount. 3 weeks later, the sheriffs returned and collected the balance of £3,744. David Conway is on cloud 9. The money has enabled him to settle his debt and buy the car of his dreams, another Renault Grand Espace.
The sheriffs have come along and really done the business. Yeah, over the moon.
The National Engine Centre told us they had offered David a refund the day he visited, and it was his decision to instead have them repair the car and drive it home. They said they'd later sent him a replacement part and offered to pay for a local garage to fix the problems. They'd also again offered him a refund if he returned the car. They said it was Mr. Conway's decision to turn down these options and instead pursue court action. They said they had tried to contest the case, but that the court had lost papers. They said following the sheriff's enforcement, they'd again offered to pay the balance if the car was returned to them, an offer they say Mr. Conway chose to reject. At the paper company in Wolverhampton, the management claims the company on Tom's writ is in administration and doesn't have to pay. But while searching for goods to seize, Craig has found invoices that seem to prove Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited has been trading here.
That date. Still taking orders. As of this date.
Who's taking
The day after. You are.
This is all scrap. It's up to barely.
Not scrap, sir. That's the 30th of August, the day after. You're saying this company... This company's never gone into administration, sir.
Listen.
Yeah, they will call you back now,
You
won't
just
it?
leave my people alone. Don't
Now
take my
we're digging
personal
where we are,
business,
aren't
okay?
we?
What?
Get violence, is there? Now I found you.
Touch my bloody
Now I
stuff
found you
again.
out.
Don't touch it.
Now I
Don't
found you
touch my
out.
stuff.
We're going to carry on. You understand?
I don't understand. What do you understand?
I understand fully the situation,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, this is an old paperwork we're using.
Old
okay?
paperwork, is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, there you are.
Rip it up. That's fine. I'll find some more here, to be fair. Oh, we'll carry on. Not a problem at all.
Mr. Patel, that was the issue which I was explaining to you. There's paperwork
Listen to me.
everywhere.
Yeah, there's
I've listened to you.
There's no paperwork here. You just
But
want to make
why
a big deal about it.
what make a big deal about it? It's a high court order. Okay, make a big deal about it, sir.
Here you go again, look.
Leave that stuff out. Don't break
There
that
you
so
go.
many. Listen, this is not none of your
It's
bloody
called
business.
diligent search, sir.
Oh, diligent search. This is not none of your bloody paperwork. Don't touch it.
If you start stopping me doing my job, that is a criminal offence, and I will have you arrested for that.
Right. You tell him, tell him who's this AP, isn't it?
While Mr. Patel argues with the sheriffs, their HQ has been in touch. The administrator has sent through documents about the company name change and administration. But as Craig has found paperwork that seems to show Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited still taking orders, HQ says the evidence isn't completely convincing.
The officers have told us to crack on. It would appear that they changed their name the day that Tom was here. So in absence of proof that the goods belong to a third party, our instructions are from the office to carry on and start unplugging everything, just to push it that extra further.
Do you need the computers? Do you need to back them up or anything like that? I've said to the girls.
I'm going to get somebody to come and back them all up.
Right, do you need to do that very quickly? 'Cause we need to start unplugging them.
As Tom prepares to take possession of the company's computers, Craig has used his detective skills to get into one of the big locked warehouses.
If you look on the keypad, you can see which buttons are pretty worn. Got myself in, and as soon as I got in, yeah, they were a bit upset.
While arguments continue about who owns it, Craig seizes the stock and machinery in the warehouse.
problem we got with these, you know, I'm not a paper tissue guy. I use plenty of it, to be fair, but...
Over in the office, Tom is seizing the office equipment.
Interesting day at work, isn't it?
To keep up the pressure, Craig organises the trucks with the office.
Mark, I've got quite a large-scale removal on, if you're available for it. With the greatest respect, the only way forward is payment at the moment. I don't want to stop your business from trading, but that's where we're at.
Okay, if I give you some money, whatever I have in my account, to you...
You're talking at least 50%. At least 50%, which is at least £5,000. They won't entertain anything less than that.
Having taken stock of the sheriff's position, Mr. Patel has agreed to find some money and make a payment. Craig discusses terms with the accountant.
5,000 today, and he needs to put his proposal in. Okay.
Could I just borrow that calculator? How much for £5
One of the employees heads down to the local bank and makes a cash transfer for £5,000.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patel.
All right. Now I'm feeling that
Bye-bye now.
they've dismantled everything here. Now we're going to put it all back. We've paid some money out, £5,000, which we're going to claim back now. And in the meantime, they've earned their fee, really. We'll resolve these issues behind the scenes. And I'm sure we'll get it back. And, yeah, we'll just move on.
The naming of the companies was confusing. The original Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited went into administration. Shortly after, another company was given the same name, Alliance Paper and Tissue Limited, at the same registered address. Exactly which company owns the assets and whether it was in administration the day of the sheriff's visit is due to be dealt with in court at a future hearing. Mr. Patel told us he thought the sheriffs had interfered with his business unnecessarily, but even he seems to agree they did their job well.
Well, at the end of the day, they always win. That's what I say. They're in the business to win all the time. And they've done their job today.
Gentleman got a bit irate at one point when it was going to the removal stage.
But I think it's a good resolution all round, to be fair.
Apart from leaving with a gentleman's calculator, which I did by accident, so we'll have to try and get that back in the post to him.
The sheriff's work isn't all about collecting debts from small businesses.
We're High Court enforcement officers.
Sometimes they're tasked with taking on some of the biggest corporate names in the UK. And this afternoon, Lawrence and Kev are on just such a case.
We're on our way to Luton at the moment, to Thomson Airways. It's to do with a delayed flight, and the total due is £1,727.82.
This passenger's case, and soon to be thousands more like it, have come about due to a recent European Court of Justice ruling. If your flight is delayed for more than 3 hours without an adequate reason why, you can demand compensation from the airline at fault. It's opening the floodgates for passengers to get back what they deserve.
That's their logo, isn't it? See that top one?
I believe so, yeah.
Thomson is part of the TUI Travel Group, which in 2012 made £490 million in operating profit. Will they be able to rustle up the £1,700 they need to pay off this debt?
Hello there, I'm looking for somebody from Thomson's Airways who can deal with a High Court writ.
Reception goes off to find someone more senior to deal with the issue. How will Thomson's big brass react to having 2 enforcement officers on site with a High Court writ in hand?
Hello there. All right, you're from the legal, are you? I'll just show you some ID.
Right, second.
At this point, our cameraman is asked to leave the building. The firm's legal team get looking into the case. While they do that, Kev gets on with listing goods he can seize and remove if necessary to pay off the debt.
I'll make an inventory of your goods because we're here to seize goods. So I'm seizing them at the moment. I'm going to write a list of inventory of all the goods. Yeah, I'm not going to sit down for a minute, thanks.
is basically flight delays because the CCJ was issued, which still hasn't been paid, so he's used his rights to transfer it up to the High Court for enforcement purposes.
Kev comes out to fill us in on what's going on inside.
There's obviously lots of office space in there, hundreds of computers, desks, sofas, tables and such forth. Televisions all around the place. We take the full inventory of the place and they're just sorting out payment at the moment.
Faced with Lawrence and Kev and a High Court writ, Thompson agreed to pay, there and then in full. Lawrence and Kev emerged with the money in the bank and a smile on their faces.
It was a good outcome in the end. We got paid in full on a credit card, as we expected to, really. It wasn't a vast amount of money, £1,700. A company like Thompson's can easily afford that.
It's good news for the sheriffs, but much more importantly, for the passenger who brought the claim and who'll finally get the money they're owed paid in full and in good time. Thompson Airways told us they would like to apologise to the customer for the delay in paying the compensation awarded. They said they operate a fair and thorough process to deal with EU delay claims in line with the regulation. They said on this occasion an administration error meant that the payment was not processed, but that it had now been made. They said they'd like to reassure customers that they are committed to maintain.
We have every right to enter the premises by force if necessary. We will be entering that building.
Sheriffs are High Court enforcement officers who recover what a court judgment says is owed.
The writ orders us to come here and seize goods to the value of this debt.
They're the experts in getting cash that's rightfully yours.
£1,323.
But fighting for the underdog isn't a job for the faint-hearted.
Right yourself, Lawrence.
I will back that truck straight through your windscreen.
Debtors aren't pleased to see them.
They're harassing me.
Because they hate paying up.
Are you happy for me to just leave you some paperwork?
No, I'm not. Go away.
In today's programme, David Hart bought a beach buggy to enjoy with his son, but he found out it was stolen.
Yeah, there's my dream, on the back of a low loader, going up the road.
When the sheriffs go to get David's money back from the man who sold it to him, things turn nasty.
You're entitled to your opinion. I'm here doing a job, aren't I?
Right off your shoulder.
I'm here doing a job, aren't I?
The sheriffs brave a torrential rainstorm as they visit a pub on behalf of a former employee who'd been unfairly dismissed.
Yeah, we're looking to collect some money.
You're not having this jumper.
And a customer wants his money back from an art gallery who didn't give him the print he'd paid for. But before the sheriffs can get his cash, they need to get in.
He's in.
David sold his motorbike and saw a beach buggy advertised for £4,000 on eBay by a local man called Colin Humphreys. The buggy was just what he wanted, so he sent Mr. Humphreys a £500 deposit and went round with a friend to pick it up.
He pulled it out, and it wasn't really what it was cracked up to be, really. It had, it wasn't running right, it didn't go right, there's bits and pieces missing, it wasn't finished, didn't have any number plates on it. It just wasn't as tidy as it could have been.
David decided not to buy the buggy after all.
I said, I'm sorry, but it's not how you described it, and it wants a bit too much work doing to it, and I'll walk away, I'm afraid, and I'll just arrange to get my deposit back. And he said, okay, fine, no problem at all.
But David didn't get his deposit. Instead, he got a surprise phone call from Colin Humphreys saying he was willing to take a much lower figure for the buggy.
I said £2,000. He went, no, definitely, that wasn't happening. So in the end, we decided on £2,500.
David and his son Jack were thrilled with their new wheels. David applied to the DVLA for the buggy's logbook. But rather than sending David the log, the DVLA gave him some bad news.
I was told that somebody else had claimed ownership of the vehicle. And I said, well, I don't see how, because I have the vehicle in my garden. He said, no, somebody else owns it.
David called the police and told them what the DVLA had said.
They came down, they said it was stolen, arranged for it to be picked up, which was gutting. You know, there's my dreams, on the back of a low loader, going up the road, and I've done nothing wrong.
David phoned Colin Humphreys, who said he'd reimburse him, but he never did. So David took Mr. Humphreys to the county court. Mr. Humphreys claimed he bought the buggy in good faith from a person who later reported it stolen. But the court didn't accept this argument, and Mr. Humphreys was ordered to repay David's money plus court costs, over £3,500.
The judge basically said we have to pay the lot within 14 days. But he hasn't, and I haven't seen a penny since.
David was left with little option. He went to the High Court and got a writ for the money. And now Sheriffs Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally are on their way to Colin Humphreys' house to get David's cash and their costs for enforcing the writ. The total now stands at £4,700.
It's getting on for 5 o'clock in the evening now, so hopefully, if the defendant was at work, they'll either be on their way home or at home, so we should have a chance of making contact with them. But we'll see when we get there.
Lawrence and Kev have arrived. Because this visit is to a domestic residence rather than a commercial property, they can't break in to seize goods. They will have to try and get David his money back some other way.
Hello, sir. Looking for Colin Humphreys. Was that be yourself?
Yeah.
Hi, sir. Enforcement officers here to execute a High Court writ.
Yeah.
Against you in favour of David Hart.
Yeah.
Here today to seize goods to the tune of £4,717.63.
You ain't coming in, you know that, brother, don't you?
Have you got any way of paying this?
No.
Some of it?
No. Not a ton. I ain't got no work, no nothing. So what we gonna
do? Are you on benefits?
Well, I'm signing on, but I ain't getting nothing.
Right. Have you got paperwork to show that you're signing on?
Yeah.
Can I have a see of that?
You can stay there and I'll show you. All right, bro.
Right.
At this point, our camera operator was asked by Mr. Humphreys to go away from the house. Mr. Humphreys started to shout so loud it could be heard down the street.
Do what you like, mate. I ain't bothered about you, your old bill or anything else.
It's not
See
right.
me, I don't give a for any of you.
Fair enough.
Right, then go away. See you later.
Sorry, can my colleague get a picture of that with his phone?
Because they can't break into the house, Lawrence has little option but to post a copy of the writ through the letterbox.
Has she done yet?
I've just got to leave you some paperwork, sir.
You now.
I haven't been copied.
Don't get leery of me, you I'll take your place.
Sir,
you fancy your chances, come round the back, I'll show you.
I'm just here doing a job.
I'll come round the back, I'll show you, I'll take your head right off.
I'm just doing a...
Nothing.
Can we just calm me down? I just need to leave you some paperwork, sir. Okay?
Listen, mate, take him and now I'll bury you off. You got a choice.
Right. Are you happy for me to just leave you some paperwork?
No, I'm not. Go away.
Right.
I'll count to 3.
Right. What I'll
and then
do...
we're going to kick off. You can go and get the old bill, do what you like. 1.
Right, sir. What I'll do, I'll fill out some paperwork and I'll just put it through your door for you.
Do that then.
Okay?
Lawrence will call the police if the situation does become violent. From a safe distance, he lists property that could be removed on a second visit to auction to pay off the debt.
Oh, we got a couple of pot plants on there.
He's coming back out now.
What's he up to then?
Don't know.
They may not be at a safe distance after all. Mr. Humphreys has come out to the road.
There you go, sir. What I've put on here is if you want to...
Before we go any further, before you come round here, as far as I understand, by law, you're going to give me 7 days' notice
No,
that
sir.
you're coming.
No, we're not county court bailiffs. Do you want to just take this, sir?
County court bailiffs, I ain't got to take...
You don't have to take it, no.
Before going back into his house, Mr. Humphreys threatens Kev again.
I'm here doing a job, aren't I?
I'll take your head right off.
I'm here doing a job.
Come here. Come here. Step here. Let's see how good you are. And then you can have it going on.
Sir, we're not sent out for aggravation.
All right, we're just trying to get a job done. What I was going to explain to you...
You're scumbags.
You're entitled to your opinion,
Go
sir.
away. And you. If I see you again, mate, I will take you in. See what I'm saying? Hear me now?
You're entitled to your opinion. I'm here doing a job, aren't I?
I'll take your head right off your shoulder.
I'm here doing a job, aren't I?
Yeah. Come round here again. Come round with him, or a couple more, I ain't bothered. Step inside this cage. Just step inside here. Come on. Me and you.
Right, sir, we're not here for aggravation.
God help you, I'd rather get locked up than see you taking him. I'd rather hurt the pair of you. And on my life, I'm 55-year-old. But me, I've done more prison than enough, and I don't give you people. Let me told.
Yeah.
You know what?
With Mr. Humphrey's threats becoming more extreme, it's clear that nothing can be achieved by staying further. The sheriffs make their exit. It's not the first time Lawrence has been threatened in the line of duty, and it won't be the last.
Everybody develops their own way of dealing with confrontation and aggravation. It's just something you learn over the years. We're not out for aggravation, and we try to avoid it. As far as I'm concerned, your mouth is your best weapon. Cannot beat experience when it comes to dealing with people, particularly aggressive people. You have to sort of learn to read the signs, read into people what buttons make them get aggravated and not press those buttons. You're dealing with people that don't want you to be there, whereas most other walks of life, you're dealing with people that do want you to be there. We're never welcome, you know. That's just a fact of life.
And it's another fact of life that the sheriffs don't give up. Lawrence is already planning a return visit to Mr. Humphreys during daylight hours.
We'll have to go with the police, because I've got no doubt he will kick off. He just seemed that sort of person, you know.
It's going to go then, though, won't it?
Yeah, he's obviously highly volatile. So that's one where, you know, you would potentially have to go with the police.
Mr. Humphreys can expect another visit soon. High Court Enforcement Officer Mark Newton has joined Kev for the sheriff's next job. They're going to a pub in London whose owner owes a former employee over £1,200. 3 years ago, the employee won an unfair dismissal case against the pub, but wasn't paid the compensation, so she got a High Court writ. With court costs and interest, the debt now stands at £2,100.
We're in Hackney, and we are looking for a company called Seamless Limited. Just drove past the address. It looks like it's possibly changed, but we'll just go over there and see what's happening and see if it is the previous tenants or whether it's the same people that are still there.
The former employee has now moved back to her home country, Brazil. And it looks like a tropical rainstorm has just descended on Hackney.
Hey there, you from the pub, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm after Seamless Limited.
Yeah, we're part of Seamless. Well, the pub is part of Seamless.
Is that from the High Court? It's about a High Court writ that's been issued.
Right.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's Seamless Limited.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Huh? It's owned by Seamless Limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking to collect some money from the High Court.
That's a good start. The man in the cellar has shouted up to Mark that the ownership of the pub hasn't changed. Now Mark has to find the owner and get the owed money.
Is there any way you can get hold of someone? Because probably what we're basically here to do is if we can't get payment, we have to seize goods.
You're not having this jumper.
Maybe it'll fit me. Yeah, no worries.
The man in the cellar says he's going to come up and call his boss. High Court enforcement officers are legally allowed to walk straight into commercial premises. So Mark and Kev enter the pub and look for possible property to remove to pay off the debt. They could take £2,000 worth of alcohol right now. With the pub due to open in 20 minutes, that may affect custom.
Who's going to want to buy a half bottle of scotch apart from the bloke on the bench down the road?
It's just an inconvenience, though, isn't it? It's more...
I've spoken to General Manager, he's spoken to the owner.
Yeah.
Saying this is an ex-employee.
Right.
And he's actually sent a cheque the week before Christmas.
Right.
To her in Leeds.
Yeah, obviously hasn't been received. He sent a cheque direct to her. Okay, let me ring her to just make sure that it's still...
A cheque sent to Leeds may not have reached the former employee in Brazil. Mark calls the office to see if the debt has indeed already been paid off. At this point, our camera operator was asked to leave the pub.
It's still live, this case, because the guy is saying that they sent a cheque to the claimant before Christmas. Yeah, no problem. And then give us a shout back. Yeah, lovely. Cheers. Bye. They're just going to try and get hold of her and speak to her and then go from there, yeah? All right.
While Mark and Kev wait to hear the status of the case, the pub staff get ready to open up. Although anyone venturing out for a drink today would probably need a snorkel. 10 minutes later, the manager phones back and says a cheque was sent to the employee's solicitors in Leeds. Mark tries to get more information from him.
Do you know the name of the solicitors at all? Yeah, if you could get the name of the solicitors and the amount that was sent, and then we'll go from there and see if we can give them a call, yeah? See, at the moment, it's still outstanding, so it would need to be paid. That's where we are with it at the moment. All right, thank you. Bye-bye. He seems like he said, look, 100% it's definitely been sent. He sent it to solicitors, and don't...
Yeah, how can you be unsure who it's gone to?
Huh?
How can you be unsure?
No, he's not unsure. He's just he has to speak to the other guy, the owner. He's the manager. He has to speak to the owner. I don't think we're going to get any money without a big... You never know.
Mark may have spoken too soon. Half an hour later, the manager turns up at the pub and asks Mark the total amount owed and how it needs to be paid.
212560. Debit card, credit card.
Paying by debit card incurs a £5 additional cost, so the manager decides to pay the full amount with cash. The former employee will get her money after all. Mark has a theory about why the situation changed so quickly. High Court enforcement can be bad for business.
They were cooking all the food up, so obviously expecting people to start coming in around lunchtime now, and would have caused him a lot more aggro than the £2,000 was worth, you know, so probably best for him just to pay. Yeah, so it's a good result for us.
Mark and Kev got to the van with the owed money just in time. The monsoon has now reached biblical proportions. Mark has learnt from personal experience to be careful when he has a wad of cash to look after.
So we did a caff with Tony one morning, we was talking to the sheriffs, and I put the folder on the table, yeah, we was having something to eat, we had about £4 in it, and he picked it up and put it on the chair. So we left the caff, drove about 4 miles down the road. I was like, where's the folder? He's like, you had it. I went, no, you had it. And he's like, oh no, I left it in the caff. I went back to the caff, and the bloke behind the thing went, oh, you left the folder here?
And with that, the sheriffs returned to base, without any cafe stops on the way. The sheriffs have been dispatched on another job. Kev and Lawrence are going to an art gallery in London. A customer purchased what he thought was a limited edition print from Atom Rooms Limited for £1,500, but then discovered it was just an artist's proof, which isn't as valuable. The customer asked for his money back and got nowhere, so he went to the High Court and got a writ for the cash. But before the sheriffs can execute it, they need to get through the front door.
Quite a lot of the time the galleries are locked. You know, they're a bit reluctant to let people in if they don't know who they are, if they don't think they're a genuine customer. and two of us rocking up doesn't really look like we're customers, so almost better just to go one of us go up and just get in first.
Especially when one of us is bald and ugly and the other one's got a briefcase under his arm.
The sheriffs have arrived at the gallery. Lawrence hangs back while Kev charms his way into the premises.
Just to see if he can get in. Let him get in. He's in. Hi, it's an enforcement officer.
Oh.
Here today to execute a High Court writ. Are you Mark Feathers?
No, he's not here.
He's not here. Are you able to get him on the phone at all?
Not at the moment, but can you come back later?
No, he can't, sir. We're here to execute a High Court writ. We're here to seize goods. So you need to get Mr. Feathers on the phone. We're quite happy to wait while you do that, but we need you to get Mr. Feathers on the phone because he's the one who needs to deal with this, obviously.
He must be contactable. Is he on the phone?
Yeah, can you exit and then I'll see?
No, we don't go out again, sir. We're here to execute this writ, so you just need to get Mr. Feathers on the phone.
In the past, the sheriffs have seized Formula One cars, aeroplanes and gold bullion. The biggest settlement they've had is £5 million. So £1,500 worth of paintings isn't a daunting task.
We're here to seize goods to cover an outstanding debt. Well, I can't disclose the amount or anything to you at this time.
While they wait for the assistant to call the owner, Lawrence and Kev take time out to appreciate a work of art similar to the one at the centre of the dispute.
You see it full size in the flesh like that, you can see it's quite a powerful piece, isn't it?
How are we doing?
What time do you normally get in?
What time is it now?
3:15. About 4 or 5.
Lawrence decides to up the ante.
I'm going to start taking an inventory of the stuff that we're seizing.
And it seems to have an effect.
So that's going to be 8 by 12, isn't it?
But Lawrence is no art expert.
As I say, I'm just going to take a picture of the ones that I've written down so far, because obviously we're going to have to have photographic evidence to back these up, because it's not... my descriptions aren't going to be necessarily accurately descriptive.
The whole
Procedure? He's got debt outstanding, and it needs to be settled to us here and now, and then we go.
Past experience tells Lawrence that if artwork does need to be removed, it's wise to take it as soon as possible.
We would have to remove stuff from here today because it's movable. It's small, easily transportable, and basically I would believe the goods would be in jeopardy if we didn't take them from here today. In other words, we come back and the paintings will all be gone.
Lawrence looks for documents which provide proof of ownership for the artwork on display. He can only remove paintings which belong without doubt to Mark Feathers, the person named in the writ.
That's got to be his. These have got to be his prints, Lawrence, haven't they?
What's that?
Well, prints in a tube with his name on.
Yeah, you'd guess so, wouldn't you?
The High Court writ Lawrence is executing just names the individual, Mark Feathers, not the company. A name on a package isn't definitive proof of ownership. And Lawrence's analysis of the ownership documents has revealed another problem.
Everything's coming in the name of Adam Rooms Limited. Not Mark Feathers trading as Adam Rooms. So I think potentially Adam Rooms Limited owns what's here. Everything seems to be in the name of Adam Rooms Limited, not in Mark Feathers' own name, so I'm just going to leave seizure paperwork. I don't think it's worth waiting around because I don't believe he's going to turn up.
Lawrence will seize the paintings which don't have documentation, but he won't physically remove them until he can be certain they're owned by Mark Feathers. Mr. Feathers now has 5 days to prove they aren't his.
I'll leave you this paperwork to pass on to him. Yeah. Okay, this is a notice of seizure, which tells him how much is owed. I'll put it in an envelope in a second. Okay, if he doesn't own the stuff, if it's owned by Atom Rooms Limited, he'll have to provide paperwork to that effect for everything that's in here.
Paperwork owned by Atom Rooms.
Or by third parties. Third parties will have to claim their own goods. I'm just going to take pictures of most of the rest of the bits of artwork now, so that nothing disappears. If he does dispose of any of it, it's actually a criminal offence. You might like to point that out to him as well, seeing as how he's not bothering to return your calls. Might also be worth pointing out to him that we can come back and inspect that the stuff is here at any time, and if necessary, false entry. Okay? Cheers.
The Mark Feathers case is proving far from straightforward.
Another case potentially where the client sued the wrong entity. All the paperwork there, everything seems to be in the name of Atom Rooms Limited. I don't believe Mark Feathers trades as Atom Rooms. He's, I would guess, the person that's dealing with it most of the time in there, but I don't think it's him trading as. It's a limited company, so we wouldn't be able to remove any limited company assets to cover a debt that's in his name personally, which is why I haven't wasted too much time. I've done a seizure of everything in there, so he's now got 5 days to provide proof of who owns it, be that the limited company or the artist if they still own any of the pictures in there. But I don't believe he's going to turn up today. So I think it would be a waste of time to just sit around and wait for him.
If the sheriffs don't succeed in getting the customer the cash he's owed, they'll only charge him a £60 admin fee for their efforts. This case provides a clear lesson for anyone thinking of trying to get their money back by going to the High Court.
We're trying to drum it into claimants, be careful that you get the correct entity on the writ. You actually sue the correct person or the correct company, and sometimes it just needs a little bit of digging to actually find out who you have been dealing with.
The customer may need to go back to the High Court and apply for the company name to be included on the writ. If he is successful, Lawrence and Kev will be back to get his money. Lawrence and Kev work for this High Court enforcement office.
If it's a commercial property, then we can force entry to levy if necessary.
Enforcement officers have been known as sheriffs for centuries. Their job dates back to Saxon times.
We have a live writ, and we are here today to seize goods to clear this debt.
This company has 40 full-time sheriffs and pursues over 1,000 cases a month. Advanced planning is a key factor, and Lawrence is already liaising with the police about an upcoming late-night visit to a nightclub in Dover. The police want the sheriffs to go during the day when it will be quieter, but Lawrence has different ideas.
They're suggesting that we go out of hours. Well, that's no good. We need to verify that our defendant has goods within those premises, or we can't force an entry. Well, we can, but if we find that they don't have goods in there, then we can be found guilty of trespass, which is obviously not something we want to do. So we need to go there first to seize goods and ascertain who those goods belong to.
High Court enforcement officers can list or seize potential goods for removal at a later date. In most cases, this proves an effective way of getting debtors to pay up. And moments ago, Lawrence closed just such a case.
The debtor just arrived downstairs wanting to pay, so I went down there with a PDQ machine expecting it to be a card payment. They offered to pay by cheque, which we didn't have. We don't take cheques, and so he just opened his bag and got out £1,300 in cash. So yeah, that's another case cleared up. He's cleared his case in full.
But will Lawrence have similar luck at the nightclub, with or without the police? It's 9:15 p.m. and he and Kev are on their way to Dover.
We're going to a club called Club Karma. The defendant is Karma Leisure Limited, trading as Club Karma.
and I believe the money's owed to a private individual who actually arranged their licence for them when they opened the club, and he's never been paid for it. At the moment, we're looking at a debt of just under £2,300.
It's not ideal to be on the hunt for owed money late at night in an establishment with alcohol present. Lawrence has reached a compromise with the local constabulary.
They're reluctant to attend with us when we actually get there, but they are on alert. So if we do encounter any trouble, they will have patrols in the area, so that we'll just be able to call 999 and we'll have a fairly rapid response to that, should we need it.
The sheriffs have arrived at the club. It's 30 minutes to opening time.
Hello there, Trace my ID. I'm an enforcement officer, here to execute a High Court writ. Right.
Their first task is to find the owner and enforce the writ for the owed money.
Hello, sir. Trace my ID. Yep. We're enforcement officers. Here to execute a High Court writ. Yeah. Against Karma Leisure Limited, trading as Club Karma. Yeah. The amount outstanding is £2,257.18. Unfortunately, sir, we are here to seize goods to clear this debt.
No, how much is it?
£2,257.18. We've got a machine you can do a debit card payment onto.
Someone can do over the phone then.
Not a problem. If you've got a card...
No, not me, but someone else will have.
No, it's chip and pin. They need to come here.
Are they?
Yeah.
No, because obviously they're in London. So.
The nightclub manager calls his father in London, who owns the business and has the company credit card. He asks to speak to Lawrence.
Hello? Right, this needs to be paid, sir. This needs to be paid. Whether you've appealed or not, sir, we have a live writ which we're here with tonight to enforce, so this needs to be paid. You can't... Right, well, I'll carry on with my seizure of goods then, sir. OK?
The owner told Lawrence nothing in the club belongs to the debtor company Karma Leisure, so there's no point removing anything. But unless Lawrence sees paperwork proving that, he'll still seize goods to pay the debt.
I've got a couple of these papers. I have to show you lease papers that show it belong to us.
Lease papers for what, sir?
All of everything, basically.
So you've got lease papers for everything here?
Pretty much, well, all the equipment, fridges, everything around it, yeah.
Well, you will need to show us that, yeah.
But,
the alcohol as well, isn't it?
Hold on. Is there anything we're paying now then to stop it?
Yeah, 2,257.
Even a bit half or something.
No,
we can't. We have to take full payment.
You know, not being funny. That's not in the overall scheme of things. That's not a massive amount of money in this day and age.
The owner asked to speak to the High Court enforcement officer again. Lawrence couldn't be clearer in explaining what he's here to do.
We can seize, and we will seize, all assets within the premises until such time as we have proof that they don't belong to Karma Leisure. The only way to prevent further action is to pay in full. It needs to be paid tonight, sir, now. I'll hand you back to your son.
Hello? Well, they're not listening, so there's not anything I can do now. Okay, you wait here then till he comes here.
For how long?
How long will you be? 2 hours. I was coming from London.
It's £181.50 plus VAT per hour waiting time.
It's 180 quid plus VAT.
So it's 300. So that'll be 360 quid plus VAT.
The mention of overtime costs and the fact the club is due to open in 15 minutes has focused the owner's attention. The sheriff seizing property like alcohol, chairs and tables could affect custom.
Right, can £1,000 be paid now? And you know obviously that will be paid.
But how is the £1,000 going to be paid?
If I've got my card, you can transfer it over and I'll pay it right now.
Well, you can transfer 2,257 then.
No, it needs to be full, so they're saying it has to be full.
Because the owner isn't willing to pay the full amount, Lawrence takes it to the next level.
Well, I'm going to start doing an inventory now.
Right, am I just waiting?
Well, we're not getting anywhere. We've been having this conversation now for 20 minutes.
No, I do, but not everything. Like, what about couches? What about all the furniture? Yes, but everything else, like the CCTV, what about everything else?
CCTV lighting, sound system,
not only that, we're about
wet
to
stock.
open as well, right now, we're about to open. We're about to open now. Yeah, we're about to open now, like right now. It's past. Okay, listen, we can't talk, we need to sort it out right now, basically. Everyone's here as well, you know.
It's now 5 minutes to opening time. The owner wants to ask Lawrence why he wasn't given advance warning about the sheriff's visit.
No, it doesn't work like that, sir. We don't notify people we're arriving, because otherwise the club might well have been shut, mightn't it, when we got here? We've come when we've come at this time of night because the club is open. Right, well, you know, if you can be here in an hour, you can be here in an hour, sir, but we will be charging £181.50 plus VAT on top for waiting time. Right, sir, you need to come here and pay us in full and pay whatever waiting time has clocked up by the time you get here. That's all I can say.
Lawrence's tactic of raising the stakes has worked.
Hello?
The owner says he'll put cash into his son's account so he can pay by card.
He just said he's going to put it in now, so...
Hello?
It won't go now, no, the card.
No, don't. Make sure he's put it in there, because what you don't want is to put it in there, have it decline, and then you try again, and then the card company will tell you to go away. So you need to just wait till you've verified with your dad that he's put the money in, and then we'll do the payment.
The owner's son goes to open the club and organise the transfer of funds into his account. Lawrence is starting to think he may get the unpaid licensing consultant's money after all.
Looks like it, yeah. Eventually. No.
Don't say that yet.
No, Joe, no, it looks like it. Nothing's in the bag yet.
The nightclub has just opened, but the music on offer isn't to Lawrence's taste.
I don't know any of this modern music. Once it gets past the 80s, I don't want to know.
Can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, a bit of Midgeur, Ultravox.
Huh?
Yeah, Vienna. No.
No idea. No idea, mate.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know who Midgeur is?
No.
Kev's music history lesson will have to continue some other time. The owner's son has returned, and he has news.
Has he done it?
Yeah, it's all done.
Well, if you want to stick your card in there. And put your pin in. There's your receipt. Okay, that's it. And we're all done.
The nightclub owners decided not to respond to the county court judgment when they opened the letter. They didn't take it seriously because they were under the impression they'd paid the licensing consultant what he was owed.
To be honest, he just thought it was a load of nonsense. I don't think it would take it that far if he's been paid before he's having it on, having a go. So.
Right, worth responding.
No, always
obviously no.
It's been a long night and a tough negotiation, but thankfully there was no need to call the police.
They're always a battle. It's very rare you don't get a battle, but I was just pleased that, you know, we weren't overrun by drunken revellers and, you know, there was just a general nuisance everywhere, but there wasn't, you know, took us straight into his office out the back and it was all dealt with quietly and amicably. Couldn't have asked for more, really.
Lawrence always enjoys getting money back for his clients.
What I find satisfying is no 2 days are the same. You never know what you're going to experience. And it is satisfying collecting money at the end of the day from somebody who didn't want to pay. Because everybody should pay their debts, in my opinion. I pay my way through life and I don't see why anybody else should be any different. And it does stop businesses going under, it stops people losing their homes if we're out there collecting money for them.
And it won't be long before Lawrence and Kev are back on the road again. Best efforts David Hart still hasn't got his buggy money back from Mr. Humphreys.
Would I do it again? Trust somebody? Yeah, I would. I do trust people.
He may have had a bad experience on his first buggy venture, but David isn't giving up on his dream.
My daughter says, are we going to get another one? Hopefully. Hopefully. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see.
And if the sheriffs get their way, David's dream will be realised sooner rather than later. Next time, Robert Baker.
Hả? Không, đại ca về trước. Chứ không phải đại ca.